Today, for the very first time, I get to hear the brand new Sevendust album. This is Truth Killer. Straight Truth Killer. Truth Killer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new album reaction / review here on my channel. If this is your first time here, know that what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about Sevendust at the beginning, but not too long. I want to get into the music relatively fast. Then I'm going to listen to this entire album from front to back, all the way through, talking over a lot of the music, breaking down everything that I'm hearing. I tend to come from a more sort of music production standpoint rather than breaking down the meaning of any sort of lyrics or anything like that. So just know that, but we're going to listen all the way through the entire album, and then after I'm done listening to the album, I'll give my sort of overall thoughts, or just my sort of review, if you will, if you want to just skip to the end to hear what I thought about the album as a whole. I also have to say, if this is your first time here, sometimes when I'm doing a full album reaction on YouTube, like I'm doing with Truth Killer today, YouTube is totally fine for the most part, allowing you to use 1, 2, maybe even 3 songs from any band, from any album, for the most part. You know, I mean, different bands, different groups have their own, rules and things like that. But very recently on my channel here, I have become a partner with YouTube, and I have joined something that they call the Creator Music. Sort of like it's a beta is what it's called, the Creator Music beta right now that they're using. Basically, it allows me to search on YouTube for different artists, and then it tells me whether or not their songs will be allowed in my videos or not. And everything that I've looked up so far is allowed it to be used in a video. However, the video can then not be monetized, and every bit of ad revenue, every dollar that video would make goes to the artist instead of to my channel. I'm totally fine with that. I understand that as I'm trying to grow my channel, which it has been growing exponentially this year because of all my Metallica videos. So if you're a big fan of metal, of heavy music, check out the Metallica videos I've been doing here on my channel. If you're here because of my Metallica videos, you want to check out some other heavy music with Sevendust here with me, thank you very much for joining me. But as I was saying, sometimes when I upload full album reactions, I just cannot use the audio from the album in the video. YouTube doesn't like it. And so I don't know exactly what I'm going to do to try to get around that. I may pause a little bit in between each song, though that doesn't really seem to affect anything. When we do our Metallica reactions on my channel, we listen to the entire album, but we listen to a song, then we pause and we talk about it. When I do my Metallica reactions here on my channel, I usually have 1 or 2 guests with me, and I'm going to be doing this Sevendust reaction by myself. Although, right as soon as I'm done recording this, I am going to go record a few Metallica videos with my friend Remote Chris. We're going to be doing some different things, just short videos, so be on the lookout for that. Though some of those videos may get posted before this. Anyway, scheduling doesn't matter. I'm only bringing this up to say I really hope that I can use the audio from this album in this video, and that you're going to be able to hear exactly what I'm hearing and listen to the album with me. However, if that is not the case, it's a huge bummer. I understand. I wouldn't want to watch a reaction video either, but I've already gone through all the trouble of recording this and editing the video so that you can hopefully see it. And so what I'll probably end up doing, if that is the case, is uploading the video with no music whatsoever. And what I'll do then, and I'll do this regardless, is I will post a link in the video, or link in the description of this video, so that you can find a way to listen to the album with me. I know it's super frustrating. I know it's sort of annoying, but I watch a lot of reactions, and that's what a lot of YouTube channels do when they're watching full episodes of TV shows or full movies. So you can kind of think of this sort of along those same lines. We'll see what's going to happen, though. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to chop the video up into a bunch of parts, though I suppose I could try that, but I feel like people will only watch maybe one small part of one of the parts if I do that rather than clicking around the whole video. I don't know. I will include timestamps to all the individual songs, so if you want to check out a favorite song of yours, that's cool. Know that I've already heard the song Fence off of this album, which I believe is actually the final track on this album. I've already heard that song and done a reaction to that on my channel here with my friend Remote Chris, and I was a little bit disappointed with the mix of that song. I thought it was very bass heavy and sounded over compressed, and Sevendust has done that on one of their albums in their catalog. This album, which I believe is their second most recent album, Blood and Stone is their most recent, then Truth Killer, obviously the new one. But this album, All I See Is War, is really almost unlistenable to me, in my opinion, compared to all the other albums in their catalog, of which I have all of them here in this stack. this album is really bad. But I'll get to their albums in just 1 second. Again, I just want to reiterate that I have already heard Fence, and I have a video here on my channel listening to that song for the very first time. So be aware of that. Also, I have to just say, this is the absolute very first piece of content that I am recording for my channel since I've shaved my facial hair off. So if it looks like my face is sort of ghostly white compared to my arms, which are so covered in hair it's hard to tell the color of them anyway, just know that's why my face is sort of ghostly white. I don't have any excuse for my head, though I try to wear a hat when I go outside. But anyway, yeah, I totally screwed up while trying to trim my facial hair the other day. Normally, I look like this on my channel here, and so I feel like a huge oaf looking like this. But, you know, it is what it is. I've always said, if you can't look good, you might as well look goofy, and that's what I went with once I basically screwed up while I was shaving, ended up having to shave off more than I wanted to or intended to, got very frustrated, and just basically shaved off my whole sort of beard. So you're going to have to, unfortunately, live with my silly mustache for this video, but that's okay. I don't think anybody watching this video really cares what I look like, but that's all right. What else? Nothing else. Let's just get right into this. So I want to talk a little bit about Sevendust. Very briefly. Normally when I do videos like this, I might sit here and talk for 30 minutes, 40 minutes about this band so that you, when you watch my reaction, you know exactly where I'm coming from and you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying, whether it's positive or negative or how I feel about the album, you understand. I'm not going to do that in this case because I want to do, on my channel in the future, I want to maybe try to do some ranking of bands' discographies, and Sevendust is one of the bands that I would want to do very early on in that series because I planned to do a video like this on my channel many years ago before I even started doing reactions, and I just never got around to doing it. But I did spend quite a while, about maybe 3-4 months, going through their entire discography, re-listening to everything, really focusing on it, paying attention to sort of rank their albums. And then since then, I think maybe at the time even All I See Is War came out, and I was a little bit disheartened by that album, and so it kind of put me off the whole project. So the first thing I have to say right off the bat is that if you did watch my Fence reaction video, I was thinking that their most recent album was this album, the overcompressed, poorly produced album, in my opinion, poorly produced album. However, when I was going back and listening to their albums over the last few weeks to sort of get ready for this video, I had completely forgotten that Blood and Stone, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Blood and Stone had come out, and this album sounds really, really good. I don't think it's the best sounding album in their catalog, but it is modern sounding, and it does sound really, really, really good in my opinion. I like the frequency range. I like the way everything is mixed for the most part. It is a little raw sounding, but that's fine. Sevendust's overall sound lends itself to sounding raw. So I just want to fix that right away. I was totally wrong in thinking that All I See Is War was their most recent album. Blood and Stone is their most recent album, and it is much, much better mixed, and I feel like the songs are way more interesting anyway on Blood and Stone. So my overall thoughts on Sevendust and their whole catalog thus far is that they are a very special band to me for many reasons. I graduated from high school in 2005, so that I believe would have been around the time that, let's see, Seasons came out in 2003, and Alpha came out, oh no, not Alpha, it would be Next. Next came out in 2005. So that kind of can tell you, I was familiar with Home being on the radio, with Denial and all the stuff from this album for a very, very, very long time in my life. Their song, Sevendust song Waffle, was possibly my favorite song, if not top 5 for a long, long, long time. I absolutely adore in that song how the guitars are doing a more choppy riff while Lejean is singing over the top of it. And if you're unfamiliar with Waffle's, the one that's like, bring me a light, make my life worth something more. And Morgan's on the drums doing that type thing during the chorus. It's absolutely epic. I love that song. I actually like a lot of songs on this album. Rumblefish, Denial's great. Home is great as well. It's very heavy. Licking Cream is actually really good as well. There's a lot of good stuff on here. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is when I was in high school, during my formative years, Sevendust was a very big band. They were on the radio. I was familiar with them. Their first album of theirs that I got, though, was Seasons. And in going back and listening through all their albums very recently, Seasons is maybe the most different sounding of all the Sevendust albums, because you can clearly tell that they were trying to make an album that was going to get on the radio. It was definitely of the times. You know, we're talking about the time, place, and music where all these sort of like punky, heavy bands were doing ballads and sort of like slower songs, and they were all getting huge amounts of radio airplay. And so I don't begrudge Sevendust for being significantly less heavy on this album. There's several songs on here that are heavy, which is Enemy, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. And then, of course, the last track on here, Face to Face. I absolutely love that one. But also Suffocate. I mean, I really do. Separate, actually, as well. I like this entire album. This is sort of the most seminal Sevendust album, in my opinion, in terms of like forming my opinion on them. It's actually kind of funny. I went from this album to Getting Home, and I actually skipped out on Animosity. I skipped out on Animosity for so many years, and it wasn't actually until the last 2 or 3 years that I found a used copy of this, bought it, and finally sat down to listen to this album just a few weeks ago from the front to the back. I had heard almost every song on this album, if not all of them, just in pieces. But I listened to this entire album from front to back, and I was shocked at how heavy it was. But I know that this is the album that sort of, catapulted them into the mainstream and allowed everyone to just sort of like know who they were with their song Praise. And I think, did they have a song called Again? Live Again. Yeah, Live Again, of course. Oh, yeah. So that's sort of my formative years with Sevendust. But if you're familiar with my channel, you will know that one thing that I try to do is steer clear of nostalgia as much as possible on this channel. I try to always be as objective as possible with my opinions. And some people, they don't like that. They want me to really feel the music. But a lot of the times, what I like about music are the things that other people don't necessarily notice. And like I said, that might be like a lot of production stuff. And I think that overall Sevendust catalog is produced very, 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 very well. I think they have all their albums sound slightly differently, but some of their albums, you could take songs off of each album and just put them on one album, and you wouldn't really even notice much different with the production. Definitely their very first album is their weakest produced album, in my opinion. That's probably the last one down here, yeah. Their self-titled album, with I'm a Terminator, end your life. So I don't know what the words are in that one. I'm a Terminator. Great riffs, super heavy album. This is my least favorite of their albums. I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Well, I don't know, that poorly mixed one, that All I See Is War, is not. I really dislike that one because of the way it's mixed. But this is definitely their first album. You can definitely tell. So this is not my favorite album of theirs. And then, like I said, I went and discovered a bunch of this. Anyway, I'm not going to go album by album. I do want to really make a point to mention, though, that I do really enjoy the era of the band after Clint. I believe it's Clint. Or I get Clint and Corey mixed up because they're in different bands. But I believe Clint Lowry is the guitar player and sort of background vocalist for Sevendust, and he left after Seasons. And then we have Next, Alpha, and Chapter 7, Hopes and Sorrow. Hope and Sorrow? Hope and Sorrow. Yeah, Hope and Sorrow. I really like these 3 albums a lot, and if I wanted to tell you what my all-time favorite Sevendust album is, you would have to look no further than the one that I own on vinyl. Right here. Chapter 7, Hopes and Sorrow. I just found out recently that there was a deluxe edition, Best Buy edition of this album with 2 songs off of it that I've never actually even heard, which shocked me. But I absolutely love this album. I loved all the long, sort of like electronic instrumental parts on this album, and I was very happy when I found this on vinyl. So I do have the vinyl. I don't know if I can show you. Yeah, here is what one of the vinyl records looks like. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it is this awesome sort of transparent blue. I don't know if you can see how transparent it is, but I can definitely see the light through it. It's very awesome. I really enjoy the fact that I own this. It's very cool. So this is definitely my favorite. Or, well, I guess I can't even say like definitely, but that is one of my top 2 Sevendust albums. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a glimpse into what I enjoy about Sevendust. Their other albums that I enjoy a lot are Kill the Flaw. I like Blackout the Sun, Cold Day Memory as well. There's sort of like a little run of records where I really enjoy their albums a lot. One other thing I want to say real quick and just show off, because I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to do this again. This is something that I actually made in high school. This is a scratch. I think it's called scratch. I'm not sure what it's called exactly. Scratch art, scratch pad or something. It's a black piece of paper and then you scratch the black off to reveal white. So I took and actually made this in high school. And I definitely got an A on it. I am a pretty creative person, and I always loved art. But you can see here, I just basically copied the front of this. However, to this day, I regret so much cutting out Morgan and then the other guy on the side whose name I forget. I'm very sorry about that. But I did that purely only because I didn't want to do all 5 members of the band. I thought 3 dudes was like definitely enough to do. So yeah, this is just something that's hung on my wall basically since high school. I always have it there. It's kind of behind my closet. I don't think about it that much, but very proud of this. Very proud of how it turned out. I mean, I think when you look at that, you wouldn't even know that it's like a scratch pad or whatever. Again, I don't know what the art is exactly called, but you wouldn't necessarily even know, sorry, the stupid lights I have set up. You wouldn't even know that this was not like a professional photo or whatever. It just looks like that, or at least I hope it looks like that to you guys, but I wonder if I could set this somewhere. Probably be better to have this up here. Just since I went to all the trouble of making that. And then, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I wanted to point that out. And then one last thing I want to say, Sevendust is the very first band I ever saw perform live. My first concert was Sevendust and Mudvayne at Sokol Auditorium in Omaha, Nebraska, and it was the year that Next came out, so it would have been 2005. I started college in the fall of 2005. I have a degree in audio engineering, which is right down here, my actual degree. And 2 of my classmates were stunned that I had never been to a show before, and they asked, what do you want to go to? And so I looked for a few months, and then in the fall, a couple, maybe a month or 2 after we'd started, we all drove to Omaha, took one of my friend's mother's van, we drove all the way to Omaha from Norfolk, Nebraska, which is where I went to school at Northeast Community College, and I got to see my very first ever show, and I can so vividly remember in my head Lejean standing on stage when they're doing the song Pieces from Next, which is the circle is broken down. I don't care if you blame me. I don't care if you blame me. I don't care if you... What, like that song, which is one of my favorite Sevendust songs, but I can so clearly in my head remember where I was standing in the theater up on the balcony because I was too scared to be down on the floor. So I made everybody to stand up on the balcony pretty close to the stage, and I can just picture Lejean going, the circle has broken down, like making a circle motion with his hand. And it just was awesome. If you've been with my channel for a while, you'll know that live music is not my thing. In fact, I go out of my way to say that I don't like live music, but all the shows I've been to, I chose very carefully what I went to go see, and I love a lot of the concerts I've been to, but that being my very first one, it was very special to me, and so I just wanted to point that out. Now, I've been talking for way too long. 20-minute intro is more than I wanted, but I wanted to just give you a tiny bit of background there. If you enjoy this video and you like Sevendust, let me know, and I will get to doing that ranking of their discography sooner rather than later. I have all of their albums with the exception of the Bonfires one and the Southside Double Wide, which I know is a live acoustic album, so that one I'm not like too in a hurry to ever get. The Bonfires, Embers and Bonfires or something like that, I can't remember what it was, Bonfires and something. I just never got around to getting that one, and I regret not doing that at the time, because obviously now CDs cost way more than they did, just like 4 or 5 years ago. I probably could have bought it for $1. Now it'd probably be like $10, but anyway, I have every other album in their discography. I'm really hoping that I enjoy this. Oh, I did want to talk about that real quick. When I was listening to Fence, doing my reaction to that song on this album, it actually made me a little bit disheartened to listen to this album and do this reaction, which is one of the reasons I didn't do this the week that it came out. We're already 2 weeks after this album came out, I think, as of the day I'm recording this, which is on a Tuesday, I think, August, I don't know what, couple weeks after this came out. I didn't care for the way the song was mixed. I liked the song. It was heavy. I watched Tank the Tech do a whole interview with Lejean before I even listened to that song, so I knew that they had released Fence as a single because it was a bit more of a throwback Sevendust sounding song. But I thought that the bass was handled improperly again, and it reminded me of the album All I See Is War, which I've already mentioned several times I do not care for, the way that album sounds. I don't think it was as bad as that, and I've only heard the version that was on their music video, which came out months ago. So I'm hoping that that was maybe just mastered for the music video, and that when we get to listening to this album, the whole album won't necessarily sound like the same exact mix that we got on the music video. So I just wanted to point that out real quick and say that. So before we get into listening, I have one more thing I have to do. Look right here on the table, and I'll be right back with you in a second. So for this video, I decided to wear my Mountain Dew shirt. We've, of course, got a Mountain Dew. We got Mountain Dew Baja Passion Fruit Punch, Dew with a blast of natural and artificial passion fruit flavor. I do not know what passion fruit is. I honestly don't really care. All I know is that I enjoy the Mountain Dew. Now, because I know people will ask, I have in my glass here some ice, quite a bit of it actually, of some, it was Tampico Tropical Punch that I left in the bottom of my glass last time. So we're going to get that mingling with the pop. And again, I know you guys probably don't care what I'm drinking, but hey, whatever. I'll go ahead and just mention it. Can't fit it all in there, so I'll pour the rest of that in there later. Oh yeah, it's a little slushy, baby. I don't know if you can tell in the video or not, but I am sweating. It's been hot here in Nebraska where I live for quite a while, the last few weeks. But let's not worry about that right now. Take a breath. Relax. This is a big deal for me. I love Sevendust. I feel like it's been way too long since their last album. Let's go ahead and get into it. Truth Killer, Sevendust, 2023. Let's go. In 3, 2, 1.
Don't you want just a little taste of blood, or what you know?
Turn on my computer and then turn the music down. Love this piano. Little electronic drum beat here. I love when Sevendust does these little electronic parts in the intro and outro of their songs. I love it. Very rarely do they sing over them, though. Are we going to get crushed here in a second? Or will this album have moments like this on it? I love the way it sounds so far. Oh my. Lejean's voice sounds great. Some background vocals not done by Lejean, I think, probably Clint. But every member of this band does background vocals, which is one of the things that I love so much about them. I love that line. Great melodic line, great melody. I love this. We're a minute into this and no guitars. Let's go. Is this just sort of like a long intro song? I love the slow plodding feel of it, kind of. It's not plodding, it's groovy though. It's just slow. Background vocals getting a little bit more intense to build up here. Love the drum beat, amazing. Ooh. Hear a little like a snare drum. Sounds like it was actually played. I absolutely love this. Lejean mentioned that he...
I might let the devil win.
Whoa! Oh, I love the hi-hats and stuff, the electronic drums. That's great. Oh, that whisper moment, let's go. And then that low bass note, that kick drum, that like 808 sounding kick. I am shocked at this song. Holy cow. I would love it if this whole album had more sections that weren't just heavy guitar. The drums are mixed a little bit more in the forefront of the mix. The guitars are definitely pushed back, and it does not sound overcompressed or muddy in the way that Fence sounded to me, so that's really good. But it's also very different sounding. So, yeah, just completely different approach. Very, very interesting. I'm curious if this is just sort of like the intro song. Are we going to get any other song like this on the album? I don't even know. I love that. Bravo. Bravo, Sevendust. That was amazing. Maybe the best album opener they've had. All right. Ooh, that sort of slide, that... Such a Sevendust thing. Ooh, it sounds good, I think. Oh my gosh, the vibe. Let's go. I have to say, Morgan Rose is one of my all-time favorite drummers. Partly it's because of what he plays. I think partly because of the part that he plays in the band. He's so important and integral to the band. The way the songs sound, the way they sound, the reason each section sounds the way it does pretty much is because of the drums. And I absolutely love his vocals. I know some people think that they were overutilized a little bit when Clint left the band, but I really like those 3 albums. So, just want to point that out so I don't forget it. The low frequencies are not bothering me nearly as much as when I heard the mix of Fence that was on their music video. I love this. Nice. very reverby sounding, room sounding sort of percussion things in the background. Oof. Wow, breakdown. Are we gonna get some guitar solos on this album? Dang. This is so different. I want to say it sounds like the vocals are a little bit hidden inside of the music. They might be a smidge too low. But not too low. Like, they're still within the acceptable pocket, but they're on the underside. Whereas I feel like in the past, Sevendust vocals are really always very present and in your face. Very interesting. I have no clue what to expect now. All this programming stuff. Oh, man. Oh. The vocals sound a little louder here. I actually like this a lot better than the previous track. All the background instrumentation is really crazy. I heard strings in there. There's a lot of layering, which Sevendust music doesn't normally have a lot of that. Maybe there'll be some cool synth pads and things at the beginnings and ends of songs, but very rarely in the middle of a song. I'm formulating the thought in my head that I don't necessarily care for the snare drum sound very much. It's very much a... Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's heavy. Yeah! I did not expect to have this amount of, like, aggression. I expected the opposite of that, actually. I love that switch there to all of a sudden the song feels twice as fast, you know? That's nice. It separates this part of the song. All right. You're going to give me a guitar solo? Repeat the chorus again? Okay. That sounds like a keyboard patch. Could be guitars with some sort of like a funky rhythmic effect applied to it. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I think it would sound better if the snare sounded like a different sounding snare, but it's his real snare, and that's how Morgan wanted it, so like... And the fact that the snare does sound the way it sounds, kind of it's allowing things to sit around it more, so I kind of understand even in the mix as well why they would choose to have the snare sound like that. Wowie, wow, wow, wow. Yo, Sevendust. Wow. All right, track 4, everything. Woo! Yo! Oh my goodness! Oh! There's Morgan. So what do you wanna see? Oh! Oh man! Oh my, what a chorus! Woohoo! Let's go! Yo, this is amazing! All these elements that are not the guitar, bass, drums, vocals are speaking to me so much. I love this. Oh, yeah! Hit me with the chorus again. Dude, all the layers of vocals, all the background vocals, the additional people in the band. Oh, this is awesome. Oh. The groove. Oh. Dude, yes, this is great. My mind is blown with how good this is. Absolutely shocked. This sounds very Sevendust. If you just played this for me, I'd be like, oh, it's Sevendust. Now this sounds a lot heavier riff-wise. We haven't been... Ah! Ah! Yes. Stop it. Allow it to attack me and then back off. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh. Big soaring chorus here. Yo! Oh, that bass slide. Oh, that's awesome. That's gotta be so satisfying to play. What are we gonna do? Give me a little guitar solo. Massive. Oh. Yes! Oh! Oh, harmonize it too. Yep. Keep it going, yep. Ah, back to the main riff. Kill me. Oh, yes! I can't handle this. I can't handle how amazing this is. My arms hurt. I was clenching so tight there. Oh, whoops. Ha! Don't know what'll happen there. Didn't mean to make myself so much smaller. Huge idiot. Still recording. Okay. Now this song sounds like a bit more of a stereotypical Sevendust song. Dude, the massiveness of the mix. Gorgeous. All the additional percussive things are just amazing. This might be Sevendust's best album. And I can't believe that I'm saying that. They'd have to screw the second half of the album up so bad for it to not be in my top 3. Ooh. Really cool riff. A little higher on the guitar. Ooh. I got some octave pedal on some of that. All these pauses, the transitions are all magical. I absolutely love them. Oh. So there in that moment, we could hear the effects that he's had on his vocals here during a lot of the choruses and the sung parts. Definitely some reverb, but not too much. And they could have taken some effects off during that. Oh man, amazing. I was a little bit recovering from the song before that, so this is track 7, Holy Water. Sevendust, track 7, Holy Water. Let's go. Sounds like a fast one based on the BPM here. Whoa. That's a lot of bass there. It'll be tough to kind of have everything come in after that and not feel like something's went away or gone away. Love the piano, very loud. Yes. Yes. This sounds like it could be a fun one to sing along with. Big chorus, great, loved it. It's mixed very well. You don't miss things when they go away, which is a hard thing to do when you have mixing electronic, you know, synthetic-based elements with the more organic-sounding metal of the band. Dude, what a statement this album is. Whoa. Oh, I love the echo background vocals there. I know I haven't been breaking down the production as much. I mentioned the snare drum. The guitars are very massive. Low frequency is great. Can't hear very much, if any, definition in the bass guitar. It pretty much just sounds like synth bass, like super low stuff to kind of make the guitars feel heavier. No, I did notice the bass in a couple songs ago when I mentioned the slide. Maybe this is just that song, because it did have in that first verse that low, low, low stuff. So you got to compensate for that. All right, track 8, Leave Hell Behind. Which is interesting. Track 1 was I Might Let the Devil Win. Track 8 is Leave Hell Behind, right? This is a longer one, 4:42. Second longest track on the album behind the penultimate track, Love and Hate, which is 4:52, 10 seconds longer.
My life, not long.
Yeah, it'd be great if this was kind of a ballady type of thing. It sounds like there's a lot going on here, so I think we'll have guitars and everything come in, but I would love it if we had a sort of more acoustic guitar-based song, or at least maybe for a portion of a song. Dude, Lejean is killing this album. Everybody in the band is. There's moments that I don't think sound like Lejean that might have been him, but there's also... There you go. I don't think that's Lejean. I haven't heard a lot of Morgan yet. This album. Yeah, we haven't heard a lot of Morgan, which is fine. It's been a lot. Oh, wait, hold on. I just realized my camera is touching. Shoot. My camera is touching my table. I definitely shouldn't do that. Sorry if it's been shaking and I haven't noticed. I have my Winamp player covering myself, so I don't have to look at my stupid looking mustache. Look at that, it's terrible. Anyway. This song feels slightly more awkward to me. I don't know, less put together. Interesting guitar there. Interesting guitar part off to the side. Lejean's voice sounds really good when it's like mostly by itself like that. The quality of his vocals are really high. The compression is done very well. You really don't hear it that much, but it's still very compressed, as it has to be, to have his vocals sitting over the top of all this heavy stuff. All the background vocals sound just as good, I would say. They have more effects on them, which is nice. That's what you want to do with background vocals. The guitars and the bass and everything are, I guess, a little bit muddy, but the drums kind of hide that. The vocals are really nice sounding. A lot of high frequencies in the mix, even if they're not in all the guitars. And you can definitely tell that during certain points in the songs, all the songs, the guitars have more of a low-pass filter on them so that the vocals and everything else that comes in can sit on top of it. Track 9, Superficial Drug. Okay, interesting. Sounds like a choppy room mic, or a room mic sound chopped up a little bit. Very cool, though. Neat effect. Piano. Oh, yeah. Kick is massive. Doesn't sound like the most perfect kick in the world, though. It sounds like a real kick, which is nice. It probably is replaced, and I have no problem with that at all. I've talked about drum replacing a lot on my channel here. It sounds very real, though. The snare, I don't think, is replaced, if not, or not, at least not very much. Ooh. Ooh, that's a cool riff. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those hi-hats, really different. It almost feels like right? But it's not. Like an off, you know, very nice. That really made that chorus stand out to me. I really hope that you have been able to hear the music this whole time. I bet I look like a total idiot if the music was muted and I'm just so into it and stuff. I don't care. My mom and my dad are out with my nephew at the moment at an Omaha Storm Chasers game. They sent me a picture from the game. Very awesome. Love this. I love the bouncy feel. And the offbeat guitar riff, perfect. Perfect. Are we going to get a bit of a... What are we going to get for the bridge, though? Be nice if they gave me a little 30-second guitar solo, but I don't know. Yeah, this is great. I was just about to say, I kind of wish that this song was a little bit earlier in the album, but I don't know. The album has had a really nice flow. That first half of it just destroyed me. And I liked every song up until Leave Hell Behind. I think that's the weakest song on the album so far. And even that wasn't a bad song by any means. There was just nothing about it that like stood out to me. But this song, love it. Chorus, really nice. Yeah. This song, the chorus was really special there. That offbeat rhythm was really nice, made it stand out. All right, track 10, Messenger. Okay, that sounds like an electronic upright bass, sort of like an electronic synth bass type thing. Upright synth bass patch. Some kind of a bass patch. Could be a bass note, though.
Time left alone, the pity that follows us all here. What right or wrong, buried so long, the guilty and innocent.
Very cool part over the top of everything. That sort of lead part. Nice. This is nice. Bass is massive. The song definitely has a bit more of like a swingy feel to it. Right? Rather than right? That's a nice little swing time. Oh, I think it's because it's in 3/4 time, too. Yep. I haven't noticed that with any other song on the album, but I totally could have not noticed it. I like this. This feels a little bit more like older Sevendust to me. They need to let the bridge be a little lower here. We've had too much. We need to calm down a little here. Okay, just going right back into it. Okay, now we're coming up to Love and Hate, which is the penultimate track on the album and is the longest song. So are we going to get a total ballad here with very minimal instrumentation? I would love that. I don't know, though. I know Fence is a heavy song, so... Nope, okay. Wow. Very weird sounding. Wow. Oh, the massiveness. There, the bass is standing out a lot to me here, sounding much more like a bass guitar. Maybe it's just because this part, you know, the guitars aren't being big and crunchy here. But... Yeah. Oh. This song it's pushing the limiter so hard. Like it's just like almost like reaching out, being like, I'm gonna be too overcompressed. I'm gonna be too loud. I wanna be everything that I can fit into this waveform. But it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels massive when everything comes in. That's cool. Right? You know, like when the chorus kicks in, it's still big feeling. It doesn't feel like the energy is sucked out of it at all. If this was overcompressed, it would feel like something was missing the more things come into the song, but it doesn't feel that way. This is great. Give me a good guitar solo here. We're only halfway through the song, and we're gonna be through the second chorus already, so what are we gonna do? Crazy breakdown, maybe? Gosh, that guitar. Morgan. Yeah. We're gonna have a nice little outro to this song, I think, and I'm totally fine with that. $7:30, we're doing good. I gotta be done in a half an hour so that I can record some Metallica stuff. Love this, loving it. What a cool, simple riff. Oh, yeah. Little, Faith No More with Epic here, huh? What is if? What is if? It's magic, it's tragic, it's a loss, it's a win. Very cool. That sounds like someone fiddling with the guitar plug-in or something like that into an amp. And then just you doing a little rhythmic thing. Love it, love it. All right, now this is the song I've heard, Fence. We'll see how it sounds comparatively. Would have been cool to have that be the last track, but I applaud them for putting this one 12th, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, the bass is way too much here. It's too subsonic frequency-ish. It's spread too wide. It feels that way, at least. This sounds nice. Little Alice in Chainsy there. Or Metallica. 90s Metallica. Yeah, this just sounds like more of an old school Sevendust song. It feels different than the rest of the album. Maybe a little closer to Truth Killer, I guess, but Truth Killer did not sound like this sonically. I'll bet this is a fun one to play live, though. A lot of songs on this album would be really interesting live. It's a little bit different. This album is definitely a different approach. I'm going to set an alarm. $7:55. I did see the music video for this song, by the way, with all the claymation and the zombies. Oh my, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. We did not watch the video in our reaction because my computer just doesn't do well with video. It's definitely a catchy song. Like, this is probably the most catchy song on the album, really. Maybe. But again, it's also the most old school Sevendust sounding, so there's like inherently sort of like a familiarity with it, I guess. All right. Okay, well. So that was Sevendust's Truth Killer. It absolutely blew my expectations out of the water. After hearing Fence, my expectations went from here down to like here. And I was like, I don't even feel the need to do this like the day it comes out or try to get it out real fast or anything because... One, I don't know if a lot of people are going to watch this video, and that's never a good reason to not do a video, but for me, it's at least a reason to not do something immediately. But, you know, when I listened to Fence, I didn't think it was mixed super well. I thought the bass was way over-encompassing, should have been taken. Some of the bass should have been scooped out. It was too woofy. It was too all-encompassing, really, and it made the whole mix feel over-compressed. And I said in that reaction, I think point blank verbatim, I said, I could see Sevendust being the type of band where they have a single that's mixed slightly earlier than the rest of the album and having one song on the album that does sound a little bit different sonically to the rest of the album. You know, In Flames is another band that really does that. You know, In Flames, you can tell the single that's on their album because it sounds a little bit different and oftentimes it sounds less heavy. Now, in this case, they were making it try to sound a little bit more old school Sevendust, but as I've said already, with Fence, the bass was a little bit too much. Not a problem on the rest of the album. I am shocked with how good I think the rest of this album sounded. I don't think that there was a weak song on this album. I think that Fence is, because of the way it's mixed, I probably won't listen to very often. But it's like I said when I was listening to it there, I do think that it might be maybe the most catchy song on the album, and it definitely feels the most nostalgic and the most familiar because it feels like the most sort of like a Sevendust song that could have existed on a previous album. Every other song on this album was so surprising to me. There are so many elements that I'm hearing throughout the entire song that are not guitar, bass, drums, vocals. And I talk about that all the time here on my channel. The sprinkles that you put in the song that are not the members of the band playing their instrument. And I'm not even necessarily talking about live, right? Because there's lots of layering of guitars here. There's lots of layering of vocals here. But those elements, guitar, bass, drums, vocals, are the core sound of what make up Sevendust. And I love, throughout their entire discography, every one of their albums, even including their very first one, that beginning of Terminator has this. A lot of the songs start with these cool little like synth pads, electronic drum beat, some sort of little like electronic music sounding thing. And if it's not a full solo piece by itself, like its own little electronic thing, there's like a guitar riff or something that's very affected and almost doesn't sound like a guitar. And it like loops a few times with other instruments and things in there in terms of like the synthetic stuff. And then the song, once the song always starts, for the most part, from that point on, it's just guitar, bass, drums, vocals, pretty much what you're hearing. There's not very much aux percussion. There's not very many elements other than guitar, bass, drums, vocals. Occasionally, they'll have like some piano or something as a little bit of an emphasis. And on some of their albums, they've been a little bit more willing to add certain layering elements in the backgrounds of choruses and things like that, so that the songs feel a little bit bigger during the choruses. But for the most part, their mixes are very straightforward, and they are guitar, bass, drum, vocals, band, and that's how their albums sound. This album was not that. This is the first album in their catalog where I would say a majority, almost every song, had elements in it throughout the entire song that were not guitar, bass, drums, vocals. And I cannot tell you how much that makes me personally appreciate how this album was put together. I think the song arrangements are amazing. There was a lot of very simple rhythmic guitar riffs with singing and sort of soaring things over the top of them. You know, there were like 3 or 4 songs where the guitar riff during the chorus was basically just going da-dum, da-dum, looks kind of a thing like that, like some sort of like a quick pattern, and then space for the vocals and everything to exist, and then coming in with crushing enormousness when the guitars, the bass, the drums, the vocals, the synth bass, all the elements kind of came in and did those like stabbing parts. And I love that when Sevendust has done that. They've done that throughout their entire career. They have songs on their very first album that are sort of like that. They have songs that are similar, that are like that on their second album, which is Home. They have a lot of songs like that where the riffs during the verses might be a little bit more intense, even though Lejean is still singing over them. But then when it gets to the chorus, the guitar riffs become slightly simpler and more rhythmic based rather than sort of like a technical riff. And then Lejean maybe does some like heavier sounding vocals over the top of it. We got a lot of that here, but it was done in a way that felt really unique and fresh to me in terms of their catalog. Like this album, I said when we were halfway through that this might be my favorite Sevendust album. And it very well might be. I have to listen to it more, and I cannot wait to listen to it again. But the amount of intensity that I felt on this album, even though I don't feel like the songs were mixed very intensely, but I don't think necessarily the guitars were ever, very rarely playing like a heavy metal riff. Like there was my favorite song I think on the album was No Revolution, and that song had that heavy sort of, but again, rhythmic sort of like pattern based riff, like a chuggy riff, rather than some sort of like a complex lead thing or anything like that, which they definitely don't do very often, so I can understand. That song was like probably the heaviest moment of the album, other than there was like a breakdown on one of the earlier songs. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe I Won't Stop the Bleeding. I can't remember, but just the heaviest thing I've ever heard Sevendust do is on this album, I would say. That first track shocked me. Having there be no guitars or anything, just electronic elements and Lejean singing for basically the first, 2.5, 3 minutes of the song, maybe 3.5 minutes of the song. Never really having it come in with anything crazy huge or anything like that. That was amazing, and I loved that, and I loved the message of that. And then, like I mentioned, the Leave Hell Behind later on in the album, I feel like there's sort of like a through line in terms of meaning of everything. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am not necessarily a listen to the meaning of the songs, listen to the lyrics, break the lyrics down type of person, so I haven't done that. Can't really tell you any of the lyrics in any of the songs, but I really feel like if I did delve into it, it would have probably made sense. There would have been a bit of a through line, and I can appreciate that. That's something I will notice on subsequent listens. I think the vocal production was fantastic. All the background vocals were great. I really could have had some more like Morgan screaming vocals in there. I missed those in a lot of the songs, especially because they were doing the sort of heavier stuff in terms of the riffs and the way the songs were mixed. But maybe he wants to just do less singing or screaming, and I'm sure that a majority of their concert is still their older songs anyway, maybe mixing in 3 or 4 of these new songs. But still, these songs would give him a little bit of a break in terms of the singing. But there was a lot of Clint singing on here, I believe. There was a lot of background vocals that weren't necessarily, and even some lead vocals, I think, that weren't necessarily Lajon, but Lajon would definitely like shined on this album, doing phenomenal. There were a couple moments where I was like, oh, that's really impressive, but for the most part, I feel like he stuck in his range really well. And it was more so like the catchiness of the parts that he was writing, the melody that he was using while singing. Those were the things that stood out to me more so than like, wow, he's really, doing some crazy vocal gymnastics or anything like that, which I do believe that he could do. But I didn't really get any of that on this album, and that's totally fine. I wasn't expecting anything like that. The bass was handled really well. I think the mix was great. It was huge and enormous. I think they really approached each song separately and individually in terms of what does this song need to make it stand out, and that's what I love about it. I think everything that was put into the songs that wasn't guitar, bass, drums, vocals, as I've already stated multiple times, I loved what they put in there. It made the album feel very modern. There were moments of it that felt like, I don't listen to a ton of super modern metal or anything like that, but there were moments in there that definitely felt like it could have been in something that I didn't necessarily, like something that I could see Tank the Tech like listening to on his channel, some band I never heard of. I click on those sometimes and just kind of see what he's listening to, what's the popular thing in the zeitgeist, I guess now. And I could see there were moments with all the like programmed hi-hat rhythms and the electronic drums, and then also just like arpeggiated sort of rhythmic affected single note things that were in the background, almost like hitting an arpeggiator or some simple arpeggiator on a keyboard. Like there were so many moments like that where there was all these thickening agents and filler things behind the drums. I think the drums sounded great. I mentioned that the snare drum was a little bit disappointing to me, but the more I listen to the album, the more I think I understand why the snare drum sounded the way it did with almost no high end in it. And it sounded that way because they wanted the vocals to be able to sit over the top of it, and they didn't want the snare drum to interfere with that. I do think it would have sounded a little better, maybe overall, if the snare had a little bit more high end in it, or if they had replaced the snare at least partially, maybe 40 to 60%, 60% the snare sound they had here with maybe 40% of a different, more clear sounding snare. But maybe that would have been too much high frequency. I don't know. It was a little bit dull sounding, and it definitely did sound like Sevendust drums. The kick was massive and enormous the entire time. I was very impressed with the fact that the drums sounded so good during the big heavy moments, and also during the moments where there were all those sort of like synthetic elements, the keyboards and sampled and programming moments. The drums sounded great over the top of that as well, with Lajon just singing or whatever. Like, so I think that the verses were great, the choruses were great, the bridges were really great. We had, I think, 3 or 4 guitar solos. I would have liked a few more guitar solos, but that's fine. Sevendust is not a band known for their guitar solos, but they've been doing a lot more on their last whatever 6 or 7 albums than on their first 7, which I don't think they even had any guitar solos whatsoever up until probably maybe Alpha or Hope and Sorrow. Maybe a couple here and there, but definitely not like a part of the band. And I believe when Clint came back is when they started doing more guitar solos, but I really enjoy guitar solos. So I feel like I've been talking enough. Let's check the time and see. It's 7:54. My alarm's going to go off here. I'll shut it off so you don't have to. There, it was about to go off right now. Shut it off right now. I'll end the video here and say thank you very much for watching. I cannot believe how much I loved this album. I absolutely lost my mind those first like 5-6 tracks. So if you did just skip to the end here to listen to my overall thoughts, definitely go listen to No Revolution, my tracks 3, 4, and 5 to see me just absolutely losing my mind. Amazing. This album is going to be in my top 12 albums of the year, and it could very easily be in my top 5, which I consider to be great albums. This is close to being a perfect album. I think Fence and the song Leave Hell Behind were my low points for the album, and Leave Hell Behind only because there was nothing in that song that really stood out to me. Maybe with subsequent listens, that's the song that will stand out to me more. We'll just have to see. I cannot wait to get my CD copy of this in the mail. I'm just so excited with this. The direction of Sevendust is amazing. Lejean hinted at maybe possibly working on some solo material or some collaborations with people in his interview he did with Tank the Tech. So we'll see what ends up coming of that, if anything ever. But like that first track, I thought if Lejean did a solo album, I wonder if it would be more like this, or what it would be like. Who knows? But yeah, I absolutely loved this. I loved the album. Absolutely amazing. I'm so happy that this album is as good as it is. So happy. Thank you very much for watching. I mentioned several times that I've got a lot of Metallica content here on my channel. That's the stuff that gets views. That's the stuff that is bringing people to my channel. Go check those out. I work very hard on those Metallica reactions. Almost all of them are 3.5+ hours long, and it takes me a lot of time and effort to make those. We do one about every 3 weeks. We've done every Metallica album up to Death Magnetic. We have Death Magnetic and Hardwired to Self-Destruct. And then at that point, we will be done with their entire studio catalog, though we're still going to do S&M, and we're going to do at least the first disc, if not both discs, of Garage Inc. So we've got a lot of stuff to look forward to in that regard. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you love the Sevendust stuff, and I will get to doing my ranking of their discography sooner rather than later. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.